The biggest obstacle to leadership transformation begins with how a leadership role thinks and how they approach the transformation itself. So, here are three signs that your leadership thinking is getting in the way of your organization's success with transformation. The first one is that you assign more than one concurrent strategic initiative to a stakeholder. And oftentimes, the same stakeholder who has historically been successful in leading transformations, they're typically assigned multiple ones. But what is happening with the speed of transformation and the demand it takes to re educate people or educate them on how to adapt to the transformation requires more of their capacity, and it further impacts their ability to move at the speed that they desire while they are responsible for driving these initiatives. And in other words, that means the momentum is being dependent on that leader to drive change. But if they are assigned more than one capability or more than one strategic initiative, that does impact the speed of change. So I encourage you to be more curious and expand how you view the capabilities of your leaders across different functions and who can drive strategic initiatives, especially when you have more than one strategic initiative that you are looking to have be completed by the end of the year concurrently. So the second one is when you find comfort in the in the quantity versus the quality of the transformation. So it's exciting to report that you have over 500 improvement projects that have been led or maybe enabled by AI. But what good is it if the improvements are still made functionally? So what's happening now is that when people are looking at the quantity of transformation, it still encourages people to operate in silos. So there's silo improvements that are being made as well as tactical improvements versus strategic. So I do encourage you to have cross-functional quality transformations that are happening that improves an overall business outcome versus individual improvement levels. So if you have different improvements and you're finding yourself more satisfied with that, it's just an assessment. So it's more of not of saying that you are prideful in the quantity of it, but you want to assess, am I showing more of how many we have accomplished versus pushing improvements that have a competitive edge, that give a competitive advantage. So how can those transformations be more cross-functional versus individual? And the third one is you assume that employee resistance is the reason for delay in transformation. This is the biggest one. Employee resistance now is not a valid reason to follow up on as why you're not experiencing the change or the pace of change, especially ROI, any investments that you are making within your organization, because resistance is an outcome. It is a response indicator. So what is being put into what's contributing to the response, it can show that there's a lack of resources that are being put into the response of resistance often reflects to the lack of it. So let's speak on that. There are different outcomes that from a behavior response that happens with employees when change is introduced, but we'll speak on resistance. So if resistance is the assumption, that means that there are indicators of a lack of resources, lack of clarity, of lack of connectedness. So when AI is being communicated as the solution, and you're informing them that you want them to enable AI, that gives two different messages to how people are behaviorally responding to. So if you're communicating AI as a solution, it is hard for them to see how to enable it to produce the solution. So how you even communicate can impact the result of what is appearing to be resistance. When it gets to the communication and how people are able to shape decisions, what training are you specifically in improving amongst all employees versus siloed off, meaning that the leadership roles receive more customized training and the employees are receiving generic training. When that happens, that means that they are receiving a training that does not speak directly to their role and relevancy, further increasing the disconnect that occurs with how they can see themselves contributing to the change. So those are three of the signs that your leadership thinking is impacting your organization's growth towards transformation.